I forgot to turn on the live feed. Anyways, it's on now. Sorry, I was ranting away. Forgot to turn you guys on. I get a lot of guff from people because I'm a demanding individual. I understand something in a way that I have a hard time explaining. I don't have a hard time explaining. I have a hard time finding people willing to listen to it for the magnitude that it carries. And that's a difference. Yeah, a lot of people talk about a lot of things, and a lot of things that are right and accurate and worthy of talking about. But you see, I understand that we, the people, each and every one of us, if we were to make this prohibition, the problem, important enough in our lives to make the difference, to change it, that we could. And I struggle because I could gather a lot of people together. I'm good at that. I could start holding events and start running around doing a lot of public speaking and gathering people together. I could do that. I've done it before. I could do it again. I'm a pretty likable guy when I set my mind to it, and I'm certainly loud, and I'm not shy. So I got all the things that it takes to gather a crowd if need be. But the problem is you gather a crowd, and then what? Then what? And everybody will show up, and everybody will smoke a bunch of pot, and everybody will talk about what they're going to do. And then everybody goes home, and they go back to their lives, and they don't, generally speaking, stay with it. And that's why I shifted my focus to creating an A-team. And I'm really proud of what we're doing here, folks. I'm excited. I got one more piece of a puzzle, then I can unveil the next part of this plan. I have a plan, but I got one piece that needs to be finished. And when that piece is finished, I'm going to start unveiling my plan. So to all of you who know what that piece is, please help me get it done. But what I'm doing right now is I'm looking for people that get it, that we can make this difference. You know, there's all of this political talk, okay? Oh, God, it just drives me crazy. All the political shit. You got the folks on the far left, and they're just hating the folks on the far right. And you got the folks on the far right who laugh at the folks on the far left. And then you got the folks in the middle who think that they're getting anything done. And I want to pose a question to you. I don't generally bring political speak to this, but I've been studying history lately, and I will probably continue studying history for a while. And when I study history, I'm studying humanity. I'm studying people. I'm studying the human race. I'm studying us as a people, and across the world, everywhere. And we study the dynamic of people and leadership and ways things can be done and will be done and have been done. And you find that there are consistencies. And unfortunately, unless you can tell me different, I want to ask you, all right, so you're a utopian, a far left person, right? And you think that the government should take care of everybody, but at the same time, the government's got to regulate everybody. You will tell us that we have to do this and we can't do that because that's how it works in that type of a society. And then let's see, who pays for it? Oh yeah, the big companies pay for it. But there comes a point where the big companies can't pay for it anymore. Oh yeah, and then there's the part, who's in charge? Who's in charge? Look at these types of societies and look at any time that they've ever happened in any way at all, ever. And what happens? Despotism. You get a couple of people that just go amok. And that's the only way it's ever happened. So then you go to the other side of it and you say, well, then capitalism and small government, and let those people do it. Well, what ends up happening is the people that have the means end up doing things that suit their means and their needs. And they stomp all over the poor folks, and they rape the earth, and they do what they want. And generally that's what happens if you let that happen all on its own. But my question to you, what do we do about it? Because it swings back and it swings forth and it swings back and it swings forth. And if you notice, if you're paying attention to the United States government, what happens? It just keeps getting bigger. The laws keep getting more. And if you have been paying attention to how our laws work, the Constitution gives us our rights. Declaration gave us our so-called independence. And then we came up with this Constitution that laid out our inalienable rights. And then all the laws in all of the criminal codes and the civil codes and the health and safety codes, they take them away. Every single law restricts us that we keep passing, and they don't. When's the last time we got a right out of a law?
Or they change it like they did in Utah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, when does it? The only way you can get a right out of getting a law is passing a law to repeal a law. In which case, then you take a right back that you had lost. But I want to hear some solutions. Give me an answer. Anytime that we've had a major change, you know, as I'm going through my studies and learning about things, one of the groups of people that I've studied a little bit is women. And if you look at the history of women, I'm appalled at how long women put up with this shit. Because up until very recently, women had virtually no power.
No rights.
They had no rights. They weren't able to own property. They weren't able to vote. They weren't able to do a lot of stuff. They didn't get paid anywhere near what a man would be paid for the same stuff. And yet men have relied on women for everything.
Well, you're going deep now.
Well, but it's just the way it is. I mean,
Well,
you know, look back at history, and there's been a few societies in ancient history where women were actually in control, and there's been times where there's been women monarchs. So there's been some strong women in charge. But I think what happens at that point, when a woman gets that kind of power, she has to act like a man to keep it. Otherwise, the people didn't take her seriously. So now, in the last 50 years, maybe 100 years, if you really want to be crazy about it, women have had at least a fair shake at things. And I sit there and I think to myself, what's different? People of power still abuse their power every chance they get. And this is a humanity problem. So what are we going to do about it? You know, Mike says, do the best we can till the government collapses. Okay. That seems like a reasonable way forward. But then the government collapses, and then what happens?
I think we have more compassion than that.
The government collapses, and what happens, though? The strong people are going to rise up and take advantage of the weak people again. Because that's whatever happens. I don't have an answer. I just recognize that we have a problem. So my thinking is that what if enough of us got together and decided that some things were okay and some things weren't? And that the things that weren't okay, that we decided to start coming up with a real plan and start taking some real action. You know, in history, there's been all kinds of movements, right? And a lot of times when a movement happens, what happens? People will strike. That's one way that you can get things done.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, I'm not going to work anymore, and we're not going to work until it hurts you. Garbage workers strike, teachers strike,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, you name it. The guys that haul stuff, you know, the Teamsters, whatever, you name it. A strike goes long enough, or in the case where you get the movie people strike and everybody says, "Ha, too bad," you know. Craig Cecil, maybe he's got a thought about it. Let's see what happens.
An inmate at a federal prison. This call is being recorded and is subject to monitoring. Hang up to decline the call.
Craig Cecil, how are you doing today?
Hello, Joe. Well, I want to wish you a happy George Bush Day. I'm here at the Federal Correctional Institution at Terre Haute, Indiana.
Yeah. It's an odd day. You know, it's not every day a president gets laid to rest. And, you know, George Bush was hated by some and loved by some. And he only served one term, so he could only do 4 years worth of damage. But I think there was a lot of people that said more good things than bad things about him, except for the fact that, you know, he came from old Bush money. And there was that whole, you know, corporate devil behind it all. But I don't know. I didn't feel that my life changed much when he was in power, but that's how I feel generally with most of them.
I think the times were pretty good then, you know, right after the big jump in jobs after the Reagan presidency and that. So, and then we had all the good news of the USSR falling apart, Germany reuniting and all that. So it was kind of a neat time.
Yeah. On the world stage, it was a pretty good, good time of things. There was a lot of movement, and people had gained a lot of grounds as a people.
Now here this week, actually, as of yesterday, here at the prison, they started a new rule that actually I printed it up and I have it right in front of me. But this really kind of amazes me that any warden would do this. What it is they say that they will lock down a cell block if there's any suspected drug overdose in the cell block, if there's any act of violence surrounding suspected drug activities, or if there's any suspected drug activities in a cell block, they're going to put
This call is from a federal prison.
the offenders in the shoe and then lock down the other, 130 guys in the cell block, probably for a week or so. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Why would you want to push the people that weren't involved in the wrongdoing? And as a warden, why would you want to tell inmates to group up and enforce their rules? I mean, it seems like a warden, that's the last thing you'd want, is all the inmates to group up and maybe, try to enforce the rules on him and his staff.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all. In fact, it's pretty counterintuitive. I mean, at the end of the day, generally speaking, when somebody's doing drugs, they're not causing harm to anybody else. I mean, they may be causing harm to themselves, but generally speaking, if somebody's all high, they're not bothering people, are they?
Well, maybe the methods are.
No, not in general. The only problem that we have had is when they're caught, with this K2 stuff and all that, they're a mess. They can't talk. They're laying on the floor or something like that. But the only thing that's followed with, recently the officers have been beating them up. They cuff them up and then they beat them up. So it's really the only wrongdoing and violence is on the part of the warden staff.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, I guess I would wonder. I would wonder what they would actually hope to accomplish, or is it some kind of, I mean, are they that dumb, or is it some kind of a sinister, trying to cause something to happen so that they can in turn gain some more control?
It sounds like they want the inmates to group up and enforce the rules. And like I say, we've all seen, people where they put them in handcuffs and then with, more than one officer, they'll stand there and beat them up in front of everybody. maybe as a group we need to address that. If we're expected to enforce the rules, that's certainly violating some rules.
Oh, I would think, yeah, that would, I mean, it's a funny thing because people don't realize that even though you lose certain rights when you are in custody, you still have some rights as an inmate. And I wonder, has it ever been like spelled out to the inmates what your basic civil liberties still are, even though you're in custody?
Yes, there is actually here in the Federal Bureau of Prisons, there is an inmate right that you can read, and it kind of spells out a bunch of what the inmate's rights are. And then, there's people like me that do a lot of work with the law and legal stuff and all that, we circulate that. Like, in terms of the staffers, we have a right not to get beat up by them.
Yeah, I would think that might be one of them. Right. I mean, we already have a thing that says that there's no cruel and unusual punishment, and that's right there in the Constitution. So, where is that line? I mean, is there anything that quantifies that?
Well, it's just they can't do anything to deliberately inflict pain. That's one of the...
Like beating somebody up because they're high?
Yeah, that would definitely cross that line. And they have to give us, reasonable accommodations in terms of food and heat, cleanliness and things like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be nice, but it just has to be, at least so it doesn't cross that cruel and unusual line. Like
depriving a diabetic of food and medicine, that kind of thing?
Or being hit by a dentist?
Correct.
Okay. Just checking. I don't know.
Yeah, the standard's pretty low, but I mean, there still is a threshold level that they do have to provide.
How's the dental office going these days?
Well, they actually called me over a week ago. They said that, well, this is your annual cleaning that you haven't had in nearly 3 years.
Ah.
Oh, boy.
They say I've been on the list for that long for my annual cleaning, mind you.
Wow.
They cleaned my tooth, and like a couple hours later, the filling that they had just kind of sort of put in about 6 or 8 months ago fell out.
Oh, jeez.
I really can't say for sure they did it. It is suspect.
Yeah.
So now I'm waiting to hopefully that they'll actually fix it. We'll see.
The timing is kind of, I don't know, a little auspicious there.
It's definitely suspect. I mean, I don't know if you can even, like sabotage a filling so that it'll fall out in a couple hours, but it does look suspect.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. Well, we're getting to the end of the year, and I'm wondering, is there anything buzzing around now? I know you guys were talking about that bill that looks like I don't think it has any way to move forward anymore, but is there anything else that you've heard that's of interest?
There is, inmates still stuck on, well, Congress is still there a few more days, they can do it and all that. In reality, they can't. I mean, it would have to get passed in the Senate, and then the House would have to start from scratch on it, get it done, and there's just not enough days left in the year for that. What I am hopeful about, and I haven't really seen yet, but I'm really going to watch, is we do have quite a few new congressmen coming in, next January. And I hope there's one of them that's actually knowledgeable about criminal justice and criminal justice reform. Maybe one that's come from the state. A lot of states have made some really significant changes to criminal justice, systems in their states. And hopefully there's one of them that's familiar with that and actually familiar with what works. And so that's my personal hope at this time. But inmates are just, about half of them are kind of resigned to that none of these bills are going to pass, and then there's the other half that are at least hanging on the hope that something will happen that makes it so they go home earlier.
Well, I think that when we have a new elected official that's not an incumbent, we have an obligation as citizens and as voters to hold them to task. And I think that's where we dropped the ball. You know, we're sitting out here with all this freedom and liberty, and when we get somebody that's supposed to be representing us, generally speaking, if anything, we'll cast a vote. That's about the best anybody ever does. We need to be following up on their first session when they get in there and start checking on their voting record. You know, I mean, I think that you could actually do more good as a constituent the first 6 months of an elected official's term than you could right there even around election time. Because at election time, you're stuck with whoever's there. In that first 6 months of a term, you have somebody who has a job to do, and you are an influencer at that point. And, you know, the first thing they do when they get in is they want to stay in there, right? And if they get in and they start getting support from their constituents, I would think that we could start to guide them into doing our will, which is kind of their job, right? But
I agree.
well, we got a team in Kansas right now, and it's a new chapter, and they're watching my live feed right now, and they're telling me that they're going to be in Topeka in January, and they're going to be doing exactly what I just talked about. And these guys are really active, and they're working with a group called Bleeding Kansas Advocates as well. There's some allies of ours, but they've started up a new chapter out there, and they're very active in this. And my hope is that we're going to be able to take their actions and document them, and hopefully create a template for other people to do the very same thing, because just about everywhere has new elected officials somewhere in their arena. And even, Dana Rohrabacher got voted out, but a new guy got voted in. So, if Dana's not there to do what he did, which is submit numerous bills that actually helped or would have helped cannabis advocates. One of them actually did some good. The next guy could do the very same thing if we just impressed on him that was something that needed to happen.
I agree. The Rohrabacher amendment actually stopped a whole lot of what would have been marijuana prosecutions. Now, one thing I'd like to ask you, and even ask your listeners, is I agree with you that the beginning of this new congressional term, and with a bunch of new congressmen, hoping maybe to make a name for themselves, is I'd like to send to you, and maybe you could post what my suggestion is at least for our federal officials, is to make it so that drug prosecutions have the same statutory or sentencing limits as violent crimes. Violent crimes, a regular violent crime, a non-murder violent crime carries up to 20 years. An aggravated violent crime, one with a weapon of some sort, carries up to 25 years, and of course murder is life. Now, why does a marijuana charge right from the get-go carry up to life? And unfortunately, what that does is that when they design the sentencing guidelines for marijuana, they spread those guidelines over a range of, 0 to life. But a violent crime is stretched over a range of from 0 to 20 years. That's why a bank robber, he gets a 3 or 4 year sentence, but a marijuana offender gets life. So what I'm hoping is, and I could put something together, backing it up with all the different statutes and that, and to show them that, that there's something wrong.
This call is from a federal prison.
Where the guideline, as I told you, I've compared for myself, had I been guilty of rape instead of a marijuana crime, my sentence would have been somewhere around 31 months. But instead, for marijuana, it's life. There's something wrong with our laws that allow that. And I'm hoping, maybe if I put something out, people could forward that to their congressman and say, hey, get behind this. This is common sense.
Absolutely. If you send it to me, send me something in Core Links, and I will create a call to action based on it. And, I give incentives to anybody who follows along and can show me proof of what they did. So please send me that as soon as you can, and I'll get it to happen.
be great. That would be great because I think it would be an easy sell to say, half of our federal offenders are drug convicts, and their sentences are, on average, at least 3 times as high people that actually committed violent crimes that actually have victims that are hurt, and some of them even dead. But that's the second beat. But thank you, Joe. Have a happy George Bush Day. And I hope everybody gets a hold of their congressman and, let's use this opportunity with the new Congress. Maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of them will step up.
Absolutely. Send me that statement and I'll get it out there.
Fantastic. Have a great one.
All right. Thanks. Wow. That was the first time we actually timed that where we actually said goodbye.
That's a good sign.
That's fantastic. I don't think we've ever done that in about 5 years of talking to Craig Cecil. We haven't done that. So generally speaking, Craig gets on for 15 minutes and gets cut off in the middle of a thought. And it's always very frustrating because there's nothing we can do about it. And, if any of you have ever been locked up, that's one of the things that you get to experience, a moment of nothing you can do about it. A few years back, I was locked up at this date for a couple of months, and there's a point of acceptance that there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, there's always something you can do inside, but actually to change your current situation as you are today, where I sit right now, I can get up and I can walk out the door. I can drink some coffee. I can go up. I can virtually do anything I'm capable of. But when you're locked up, there's a lot of things you cannot do. You cannot physically do because you don't have that option. And it's a thing that's hard to wrap your head around. We're only doing an hour-long show today, which means I think I've got about 20 minutes left. So I'm going to jump right to it. While we're getting going, I'm going to put Pete Yapel up, and then I got Tom Corby. And we have our new chapters. I'm going to be signing the charters right now. But we have the Rock and Fire Central California chapter and the Kansas chapter. We finally got our charter statements, and the packages are going to be going out. So I appreciate everybody who has stepped up. And I'm going to take Craig Cecil's call to action, and let's make it happen. Every single one of us has influence on a number of elected officials. You have your state legislation, which has some effect even on the federal level. But every one of you has a senator and a congressman that represent your district. And actually, you have 2 senators. So you have 2 senators and a congressman that you directly can impact. And then you got a president, you got a vice president, you got secretary of state, you got all those people that you can directly reach out to and ask, hey, I'm a citizen, I'm a voter, I should matter, and here's what I think. And generally speaking, I advocate, let's get on the boots on the ground and let's take an action that, you can see in the streets. And generally, I'm not a big, let's get our congressman to do something for us, because generally they don't do it very well. But I'm not opposed to it. And Craig wants this to happen. And Craig is truly a victim of the drug war. While we're sitting here enjoying whatever freedoms we have, or taking whatever freedoms we're taking, because some of us just take it whether we have it or not. And I'm one of them. Fuck them. You can lock me up. You can do whatever you want, take my stuff, but you're not going to hold me hostage. And they've tried, but they haven't done it. and it's not going to happen. In my house, where I am, I do as I see fit, and I don't harm anybody. I don't go out of my way to cause any harm to anybody. I don't go out of my way to inflict any harm on anybody else's rights. I value your rights as much as I value my own. So I don't care what you do in your room, in your house, in your yard, in your body. I don't care. It's your business, not mine. And it's certainly not my government's business, and it's certainly not law enforcement's business. But I'm not like most people.
Which leads back to the woman question.
Well, yeah. What's the question, woman?
Okay, so the question is, why is what's going on what's going on? It's because we got in the way. We wanted to make sure that our men came home with their paycheck, and that they didn't go out whoring around, and that they didn't go out alcoholizing, that they didn't go out doing anything else and enjoying themselves.
How'd that work out?
It's not working, and that's my point.
All right.
That's my point. That's why we gotta. It's not legalized. It's end prohibition, and alcohol is the bad stuff. The plant should have been allowed, and that's why society is all jacked up, because we're all angered because we don't have enough cannabinoids in our system to behave like decent, compassion, empathetic beings. And that's the problem. And unfortunately, the women stepping our foot down way back in the day screwed it up. I'm a woman. That's what I'm
well,
saying.
Here's what I think. And this is definitely a poetic statement, certainly not a literal statement, but I am going to recommend that everybody who has a thought about freedom, everyone who believes that you have a right to do as you see fit, either grow or strap on a pair of stones, because those stones are the thing that get things done. And I'm obviously talking figuratively, but there is a thing that we call balls, that we call stones, that we call couillons, we call whatever we call that thing that says, you know what? Screw you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to stand up to you. I'm going to get up and I'm going to not sit over there. I'm not going to drink that water. I'm not going to do it because you told me to. I'm going to do the thing that I want.
Yep.
And I'm going to encourage everybody to do that, because you know what? That's a choice we have. And when we do it, when enough of us do it, you know what they do every single time? They back the hell down. You know, they might make a stand. They might try to cause a thing or two. But generally speaking, when we all stand up and say, whoa, now you've pushed it just too far, they back down. And that's when the changes get made. And I'm going to encourage you to take a minute and start to think about what would it take for you to stand up when everybody was sitting down? What would it take for you to yell out when everybody was sitting there taking it? What would it take for you to say no when everybody's meekly saying yes?
It took cancer for me.
Okay. Well, hopefully it doesn't take cancer, because cancer is a horrible thing. And I don't want anybody to have to go through that any more than are already going through. But if that's what it took, then that's what it took.
Yep.
The good news is it took that, and you're here and you're doing it.
Yep.
So anyways, we've got a short amount of time left. Dolores Helbin just popped on.
Hey, Dolores.
And we were hoping she was going to join us. And let's see what Dolores has to say. She's been a very active woman in her life, and she's shared a lot of experiences with us, and we've worked with her and helped her. And let's see what Dolores has to say. Dolores, my friend, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Oh, it's really good to hear your voice. I've been to the show, but I haven't been on in a while. So I'm okay. Gosh, what you're saying is yeah. It's like that crazy ass movie back, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to
Exactly.
court.
Exactly.
Yay! Look at that.
Exactly. So when are we all going to be mad as hell and not going to take it anymore? Because that's when it's going to change. It's not going to change because we passed some silly law. It's not going to change when some little thing happens. It's going to change when we're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore.
We're not gonna take it.
Well, I will tell you, that's right. Where we're out here in Missouri, we did pass Amendment 2 with overwhelming support, which gives us a really good medical marijuana bill that goes into effect tomorrow, December the 6th.
Yay! Rock and fire!
We got home grow in there. Yeah, it's a little, it's a little victory. It's another mini battle in the many battles. But people have said to me for a decade, when Missouri goes, that's going to be the domino that starts the federal government to change. So I honestly believe that it's kind of like back in the 70s when Nixon was going to legalize marijuana and end the Vietnam War and get the hippies to reelect him. I think Trump will have this strategy. If we can just keep the world from impeaching him long enough to decriminalize cannabis, I'll be really happy.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because there's so many people that are, cannabis advocates that are, Trump haters. I mean, there's just so many of them. But, the thing is, if you think about it, and I was talking earlier in the show about, if the left got everything they wanted, how would it work? If the right got everything they wanted, how would it work? So at one point there has to be some common sense somewhere, right? There has to be somewhere some common sense. And the thing of it is if you think about how the hell did Trump become our president, it's because everybody was mad as hell and they weren't going to take it anymore. So They put this crazy nut job who didn't care about politics, and he didn't care about the system, and he didn't care about you. But what he does care about is him. And if enough people could show him that somehow allowing a freedom here would help him, my guess is he would do what it took to make that happen.
In a heartbeat. So we need to know the man, know the problem, know ourselves, and
keep your enemies close.
You can call him every damn day. The 202 number for the president, I've got it memorized. 456-1111. He pays attention to that like he does his Twitter feed.
Yeah.
It wasn't. We started calling when I started putting out on my Facebook page, call the president about the California fires, and just be nice and just ask him. And 2 days later, the guy was out there. So we can make a difference just picking up the damn phone. And it's amazing how hard it is to get people to do. And right now, right this minute, right this week, that prison reform bill of Rand Paul's that the president, and I think, Joe, one of the first things we can do is we can quit calling him Trump and just call him the president.
Absolutely.
That is what he is.
Absolutely. I agree.
And was that right or wrong, good or bad?
No, I totally agree. We have to
do his job.
Right. We have to acknowledge some common sense. And at the end of the day, that is his role in this. That is his title. He is Mr. President. Like it or not, it doesn't matter. He has all the power that the president of the United States has. And as you just said, and this is something that's important, maybe more so than any other president we've ever had, he actually cares what you think more than his own politicians. I don't think he cares about what people in the White House think as much as he cares what you think.
Sorry, I picked up a cold.
Oh, no, don't give it to me.
And I think that it's right before Christmas, and we can call and beg for compassion.
Yes.
You guys have seen the videos that I've taken of the Bland family, the couple in Purdy down here that's in such a mess. And I put in a call today to Amy Box, who is our prosecuting attorney, and I'm going to wait for her to return my call. these guys are looking at the rest of their lives in jail, and $30,000 bond a piece for 13 plants that weren't flowered. The guy was out there in his garden weeding out the males at the time, so he'd already pulled up like 4 males. So really, it was only 8. And
but what if it was 800? What if it was 800? So what? Does he belong in jail?
Yeah, exactly. It's the damn plant.
When people get caught up on those numbers, I'm like,
the prosecuting attorneys, and we've got several prosecuting attorneys across the state that have just flat said, Jackson County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, St. Louis Prosecuting Attorneys, this is Kansas City, Missouri, and St. Louis, the 2 biggest cities in the state, have said, we're not going to prosecute any more marijuana possession cases. Now, if they get a big, out-of-town drug bust or something like that they can't help doing something about, like the idiot, that's smoking a joint with 400 pounds in his car, But as far as stuff like Gene and I and this couple and these mom and pop, they're just not going to do it anymore. So that's what we need to be doing, is we need to be writing again and emailing and calling our prosecuting attorneys and asking them to stop, asking them to quit doing this and focus on rape, and bring up again the over 100,000 estimated unopened rape kits in the country. And a matter of when they're getting ready to shut the government down again. Are you serious? It's illegal across the country, and let the free market take over and just tax it at the same rate as alcohol and cigarettes. Problem solved. So it's so obvious.
Well, as long as if you do that, you decriminalize it at the same time, so that the outlaws can still do their thing without worrying about going to prison. I mean, the tax thing is cool as long as the people that want to pay taxes have that opportunity. But I don't want to force those taxes on the people that can't afford it, because that's really one of the biggest beefs I have is we go through and we pass, like in California, we pass this just oppressive taxation and regulation bill.
I just got back. You guys have a nightmare going. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's hell in a bucket.
Never end up going to where it says, it's like in Missouri, all the lottery and the gambling was supposed to go to the Department of Education.
Yeah, how'd that work out? We did that too.
Here's the thing, though. If the prosecutors start to refuse to prosecute these cases, then law enforcement will do what the Denver police did and just...
You're fading.
Oh,
there you are. Dolores, you're gone. Where's
Airtime.
Are you talking on a speakerphone?
No. Did I lose you?
Yeah, it's like I could hear you in a shadow of an echo. I couldn't hear the last probably 30 seconds you just said.
Is this any better?
Yes, much better.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you good now, yeah.
I live out in the middle of nowhere.
I understand.
And back here. How's this?
Much better.
Okay, I'm going to stand in one space.
Yeah,
we don't have a lot
stay right there. We're running.
So what?
Go ahead.
What I'm urging people to do is call Mitch McConnell. We've only got till the 14th of December. The prison reform bill is at the top of his stack, and that would eliminate jail time for anyone in anywhere that there is still prohibition. There would be no more jail time for nonviolent crimes. That would let our lifers out of prison. It would let them out. So it's got broad support from the Senate and the House. The president likes it. Mitch McConnell said, I heard him on TV the other day say, I just want to know kind of what the public feels about this. So we're the public. We have to pick up our phones and call Mitch McConnell, and I'll put his number up there on the, I think I've done that 2 or 3 times in the past week. Put it up on the
Do it again. If I'll be looking for it.
Or just simply Google call Mitch McConnell.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And again, it's a thing you can do. Even if you're sick, even if you are depressed or you're in the hospital, it doesn't matter. If you're conscious, you can do this. Even if you're not that conscious, you can write it out and have your friend do it for you. I mean, this is a real thing you can do. So there's kind of no reason why you can't do it.
There's no excuse. I've done this so many times this week. You can do it over and over again too.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to do it just once.
No. Once you do it once, you find out that it's actually kind of enjoyable. And there was a time where we were advocating for something, and I kind of got to know the congressman's, answer person, and
absolutely,
they're actually people, even though they're generally assholes a lot of times. They're people, and you know what? It's actually kind of like a challenge. In my life, I used to have really long hair, and I was a painter, and I used to go into into people's houses, rich people's houses, and they'd always look at me. I wouldn't shave, and I'd have long hair, and I'd have paint all over my clothes, and I did it almost on purpose because I would want to win them over, and I made it as difficult as I could. And sure as shit, every single time, by the time we were done, we would be friends, and they would feed me dinner and give me coffee and love me like a son. And the same thing. Same thing. We can do this with these people. They're people, and we're people. And the thing is when somebody sees that somebody really cares about something, when somebody, doesn't matter what it is, you can come to me and say, you know what, we got a sunflower problem. These sunflowers are taking over, and they're getting rid of all the frown flowers. And it's really a problem. You look me in the eye with sincerity, I'm going to care. I'm going to listen to you. And I think that if we can have that humanity, that's the human solution, folks. It's all about the humanity. It's about that glimpse.
It is about the stories and the humanity. You are so right. We're headed down to see our new governor, who seems very approachable.
Oh, good.
We're going to ask him, myself, Jeff Mazinski, Adele Falk, and the priest kids that got 15 years that we just got out of jail.
Oh, Natalie DePriest,
Our governor got fired for being an immoral bastard, and the new guy we got, you can't find anything on him.
Okay.
Did I lose you?
No, you're here. We're good.
We got an appointment.
Good.
We just started calling. We just started getting to know his secretary, and we've got an appointment, and we're going to go in there. He's not going to run for re-election. We're going to ask him to let Missouri be the first free market state, to just say no to the bullshit, to just, speak the truth, take him the book, take him Jack's book, and go in there and ask him, tell him what it's done. I mean, even having a misdemeanor on my record, even though I've got my RN back, I've got to get that expunged before I can really get a job.
Right.
So letting him see how devastating this is to people, and asking him to just, why not? What have you got to lose? Because if it works, you're going to go down in history. The other thing that we need to tell Mr. Trump is this will make you the most popular president in the history of history.
Isn't it true?
He always says that he's the best that's ever been. Well, this is how he really could be. We need to play to that man's ego, and we need to come on fast, and we need to come on hard. There are millions of us across the country. If we start flooding,
there's 100 million of us.
Lines,
I couldn't agree more. I think that's great.
Somewhere.
And Dolores, if you could do me this, unfortunately, so many of the things that we accomplish, we don't create a template for others to do that same thing. And I'm going to implore you with everything I've got to document this in some way, whether you video it, audio it, journal it, write about it, anything, but please, you know, show us how you guys did that so that I can show other people how to do it too. And I think that that's a thing that, you know,
I will do that.
yes, because that's what we can do. You know, I'm building an A team right now. I'm building a team of special forces, people that care so much that they're willing to get in and do the hard work and do what it takes. And I need to show them.
Go see the president.
Yes, why not?
If Diamond and Silk could get in there, we could get in there.
I put it with the governor, and it wasn't that hard. So
there you go.
Next move next week is just to call and ask how I can tell him I want to see the president and start seeing what happens from there. You know, because I really do.
I tell you what,
I think give me 20 minutes across the chair from him, and I could convince him.
Well, if you're able to do that, please save a corner of your seat for me. And I'll come right along with you. I will. I will. In a second.
I really do. That's what we're doing with the governor. Is that we've got 5 people that can all speak truth to power and that are willing to, that are going to go talk to him. And we're all old, you know.
There you go.
He and I have almost the same birthday, so that's why I
Perfect.
think I've got, you know, this will work out.
No,
I just you know, I wanted to call in and urge people, and in Missouri, people have kind of quit now. We got medical, and so now everybody's scrambling to make money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Until we beat this federal thing, you guys are just, you can't quit.
That's just like California.
But most of the people have quit.
I know. It's just like California, just like Colorado,
open and
Oregon, Washington. I know. Brutal.
It's really hard to get people to remain activists.
I know, but I'm right there. That's where that's what this A team is all about.
Smaller and smaller and smaller, but we get mightier and mightier and mightier.
Exactly. We can turn it around. You know, the thing is, Dolores, the people that have left would come back just as quick as they left if they thought there was good reason. And that's the thing you got to remember about fair weather folk. You can bring them back around if you can show them there's a reason. And that's what we got to do. We got to get things going. And we got to, you know, ultimately what I think we got to do is get that final target in the bead that we can show them, look, we have a way to get to the goal, to the end, the finish line, that place where we just have freedom. And if we can articulate it and show a way there, I think we could get the people to come back from their latest business venture and their latest whatever thing they're doing and say, yeah, you know what, if I could have that, then there wouldn't be anything in my way, you know?
Here's what I almost did today, but dang it, I got to put a dog down, so I've been making the funeral arrangements today. But anyway, what I was thinking about doing today is setting up an event page and inviting everyone to it, all the groups and everyone I know. And the event is Call Mitch McConnell, and then another event page that the event is Call the President.
Well, if you do that, I will.
That's all you got to do.
If you do that, I will take what you do and put it on our. We have a current action item page on our website that I'll mirror it on our website.
I will do that with, I've got 3 actually, and I think that the event forum on Facebook is a really good way to direct people and make them, as opposed to just call Mitch McConnell. So they get invited to a Mitch McConnell event. And if I can do 3 of them, then I will. I want to talk to this prosecutor because I want to get the Blands out of trouble first. And if she's going to be a bitch, then we're going to have to letter bomb her and make this case a national outrage that it absolutely is. But if I can be more diplomatic with her, their next hearing is the 27th of December, without making a public stink. I want to try that first because they are more. But if they're going to go down anyway, then we're going to use them as the poster children for the bullshit.
Oh, absolutely. And either way, we give them a chance to shine before we start crawling up their asses. So, I always will give you a chance.
You got to give them a chance.
Yeah.
Got to give them a chance.
I agree. All right, Dolores. Well, please, let's, don't.
Be getting events for me.
Yes.
What I'll do is put a little template on the event of why we want this to happen and what you need to say when you call Mitch and when you call Don.
Well, I will take whatever you put up on your event, and I will mirror it on my forums and make sure it gets out to wherever it can go. So it's so good to hear your voice, Dolores.
The most urgent one is McConnell because they're out, the 14th, and they all go home.
Yeah, so, well, we got a good week and a half. Let's do it.
That would get Lance out of jail. That would get Craig out of jail. That would get everybody out of jail with the sweep of a pen. So I don't think people understand how important Rand Paul's prison reform bill is, but it gets our people home.
Well, that's the whole idea.
Jail time for non-violent drug offenses, and it gets everybody home in the stroke of a pen. That would do more for us than anything else right now, is to get our families home. So I can't stretch enough how, and it's sitting there. It's up to the Speaker of the House what bill gets voted on next week and what doesn't. And he can bring it to, if he brings it to the floor, it will pass with an overwhelming majority. And it will close the private prison industry down for good.
Well,
completely.
As they say in the Midwest, let's get her done.
Pieces of legislature our country has had in years.
I love it. I love it. Well,
there, everybody has to call Mitch. Call Mitch. Call Mitch. Call Mitch. I love you guys.
All right, Dolores. We love you too. It was wonderful to hear your voice, and we'll be talking more.
Yeah, one of these days I'm going to get out there and get my picture by your door, Joe.
I keep hearing about it. You come out, you can stay as long as you like.
Well, I got to get a farm sitter, but I'm working on it.
All right. Well, you put it in your head. That's where it all gets started.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks. Dolores Halbin. All right, folks. I'm actually in overtime. I said I was only going to go an hour, but I keep doing that. I got Pete Yapel and Tom Corby, and we're going to do lightning round here. Pete Yapel, solidarity over separation. Your banner actually went out yesterday, so should be getting it in a day or two. Pete Yapel is an A-team commander, as I've ever been honored to work with one. Pete Yapel and Glenn Keeling, two men that have joined the Human Solution in the last, year and a half or so. Tom Corby, all of us together. It's a funny thing, as I was talking about, women being oppressed and women, having, an unfair shake of things throughout all of history. The Human Solution was actually a woman strong organization from day one. I mean, I was one man amongst dozens of strong women for the longest time. And finally we got a few men aboard, and we got Mike, and we've got Scott in Central California. So we got more of a balanced organization than I think we've ever had. Unfortunately, something happens when a lot of strong women get together. You guys are so competitive. You eat each other like wild animals. And it's a strange thing, but for 10 years, the Human Solution somehow has endured it all. And here we are. We've come to a place of stasis, and we now have a really nice balance of strong men and strong women. And now we're starting to get organized, and it's starting to come together and be what I thought could always be. All right, you guys, we're in lightning round. What's going on right now in New York?
New York.
Hey, Joe, how's it going? I'm sitting here with Chris Burkle, Brianna, Ellen. We're having a little bit of a, THSI meeting with a sponsor member and us, and talking about stuff, obviously, that we're planning on tackling.
Hey, how's it going, you guys? Excellent. Good to hear it.
Listen, along with almost everything you say, Joe, comes the simple statement that Helen and I, blast out and preach on a daily basis, and it's just, be the change you wish to see. If we want change, if we want people to understand, if we want people to be comfortable with what we do, and we want to be culturally accepted in a way so that maybe we can erase some of the stigma We have to live that. We have to be it. We unfortunately, we don't live in that utopia at this moment. So the only way to get there is just to be it, because if we continually succumb to all of the rules, all of the this, and oh my gosh, act like, good little boys and girls, we'll never get any. We'll never get anywhere. And that's what the Lord is saying about, there's just as many activists out there. It's just that some of them aren't very active unless it's a political year, Once the elections come and go, everybody forgets that the fight's never over. It's never going to stop until the plant is growing outside everybody's front yard freely, and they can use it, they can transport it, they can manufacture it, they can do whatever they want to do with it. And just like they can do with any other plant that's sitting outside growing in their yard. But in order to get there, again, we have to all continually just live and be that change. If we live it, if we're not uncomfortable about it, if we talk about our lives freely, if we talk about CBDs and how cannabinoid therapy is so much more, there's so much more. I spoke to a guy the other day at one of these houses we throw, Prolific Springs, and I was speaking to him, and just listening to this poor guy that's been on opiates for 15 years, but I'm not an addict, because I only take, okay, well, whatever. 15 years, you can't decide whether you're an addict or not. You're an addict. I'm sorry.
I only take pills every day.
But I said to him, well, how come you're taking more than you took when you started? Did you re-injure yourself? He's like, no, I went in and they tried this, and that didn't work, and then I had another operation, and that didn't work, and then I had this, and that didn't work, and they switched my medication. And I said, okay, so you keep going back to the same idiot that hasn't got it right yet for 15 years, and you just keep knocking on the door, throwing your money on the thing, taking whatever it is they give you, and walking on out the door, getting worse.
Exactly.
People have to take control of their own health care, man. And they have to take control of that life. That's right. Exactly. Like another thing we always say, you have to start before you stop. You have to start lying to yourself. You have to start before you stop. Stop before you start. You have to stop lying to yourself. You have to stop making excuses. You have to stop doing all of these things that are leading you to continue down that same path. At that point in time, and you have a bit of penance amongst yourself or whatever, then you can grow, then you can evolve, then you can come out of this. But it's a whole experience, guys. The better we feel, like I posted, if anybody knows me, if anybody on here, which I'm sure everybody is a friend of mine, go to my wall and look at the George Carlin stick that was put up there from the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. If he doesn't point out exactly where we are as far as what our government is, and again, explains there even a government. It's just people that do what they're told to do as well. So, and he again says, if you think they're there and they're representing you, you're absolutely out of your mind. They're there protecting their interest, which is the government, which is their job. We are nothing but the peasants and people that work for it. We continually put into it, but yet we never ask to get something fair back out of it. Now that's what we got to do.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm all about that, and I think that's part of what we need to do. And Dolores came up with a good plan. So many times I see lately, the protests that come out, and all of these people will get out in the streets and they talk about the problem, but they don't put a solution out. How do we fix it? Dolores came up with a plan, and if we make these phone calls and we let these people know that there's actually a solution that could be done, and it has to be done quick, but if it gets done, we'll actually accomplish something. To me, I think...
I hear you, man. And we do. We got to get together and do this right. I mean, listen, the human solution, everyone, if you guys don't understand, we're all volunteer. Every one of us does this for the passion that we can't help. We can't help but to feel this way. We can't help but to understand that this is unjust, unfair, and no one on this planet should be in jail for a plant. It's a plant for Christmas mistake. Well, that's just what happens with the knowledge. Once you have the knowledge, you just can't help it.
Exactly. Yay, Helen!
Go Helen! All right. Well, I love it. I appreciate it. I love it, and I absolutely think that's the direction we need to go. Well, you guys, I'm was gonna have an hour-long show, and I'm now 20 minutes past that. So I'm gonna bounce out, and I got Tom Corby to close the show down, and I look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow and starting to seal some of this down.
Excellent, brother.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for everything you guys do. Appreciate you.
Bye.
Anytime, guys.
All right, Pete, Helen Yapel, and Chris Birdsall, just out there doing it. Folks, we are nationwide in a stronger way than we've ever been. We have a great East Coast presence. We have an Ohio presence. And now we're right there in the Midwest. We got Kansas standing strong. We got California, North, Central, and South. And we got Oregon, and it's just growing. We're about to get some action going on in Florida. And, we got members all over the place, chapters popping back up again, and it's exciting stuff. All right, here we go. Tom Corby to close the show out a little bit early today, but had a lot going on, and I just got to get back to work. Tom Corby, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Joe, Mary, Becca, Lisa, and all the great speakers today coming together in prohibition. We all are POWs. That's our goal and vision at the Human Solution. I'm here with my good friend and helper, Frank Canaan.
Go, Frank.
Member of the family. Yeah, Frank. Yeah, how's it going, Joe?
Doing great. Yeah,
so he's helping a lot. Real good with my back. He's helping me work on my site, which a lot of us are going through depression and PTSD. The way the world is today, like what you were talking about, the government, and when we think about there should be a life without parole for our plan, that's really hard to keep our positive side, but my best. And by the way, your products are helping a lot. I'm taking those a couple times a day. Your rubs. I want to thank you for all those good products.
Tom, I'd do anything to help you. You're my brother, and we got a lot of work to do. I got to get you back up in shape.
That's right, Joe. Thank you. And when we talk about a story, and to get back to it, you always bring up how we met 3 o'clock in the morning at the cannabis, going for Chris Williams up in Oregon. And we met at Cornucopias.
Yep.
And you all told me you came and stayed overnight here. After I joined the Human Solution, I got connected in court support. By the way, Joe, I'll tell you back then, when we had court support, it was nothing to have at least 2 dozen to 30 to 50 people.
I know.
And, yeah, you had 150.
Yes, I did.
So where did all the people go? I want to tell you right here, right now, sometimes it's not, Frank and Ann will tell you right here, it's not about so much, it's not to have a lot of people there, but if you just have a person or two in there that has a little legal savvy and can help with their support, it helps so much just to have somebody that, and of course, Sam is support. If you remember right, all my court supports were here in Oroville for Daisy Brown, and then we moved up to Tehama County because she got arrested up there, and that's where I met Curtis Keaton and Lance Stenhouse. Remember their cases?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Lance and Julie Stenhouse stopped by unexpectedly today. They sent kudos doing really good.
Excellent.
When we talk about cases, and these cases that out of line they are, both Curtis Keaton and Stenhouse were set up on Craigslist by NARCS. And the NARCS posted they had recommendations and they had cannabis for patients.
Eric Salerno, too.
So So when I met Lance Stenhouse at Curtis, and when I went outside, they asked him, well, how many pounds did you have? We didn't have any pot. We didn't have any paraphernalia. All we had was cash. So they busted him for cash to come up here and buy pot. And that Lexus, remember the Lexus? They took that Lexus.
Yeah, I do.
They went to trial. They went to trial for that Lexus, and you talk about a law enforcement tainted jury. So they found him guilty, and they didn't give him the Lexus. Well, too late, took him on full fur with Lance being an attorney. Kept them on, took them down to Sacramento, and they drove in their Lexus today. So they got their Lexus back too.
All right. Awesome.
So how do we put that? Same thing. Truth and justice does prevail. And when you come there,
it can.
And there was a truth with this PD, and he listened to them, and they listen to you. It does prevail. So. And we always take them on to trial. Back then, what did they do? They filed their 995 dismissed probable cause motion. They got all their discovery. They worked their own case, and finally, that's what wins the bacon. Is take them on to trial, throw everything at them, and today I'm not going to forget the breeze.
Well, you sound a whole lot better than you were before there, Tom. I'm really excited that you're starting to get some steam. There's some wind in your sails again.
That's right. All right, Joe. Thanks everybody today, and we'll see you all next week.
All right. You know what? Actually, not next week. I will not be doing a live show. I'm going to be up in Oregon on business, and I don't think I'll be back in time to do the show. So we're going to skip a week, and we'll be back the week after that.
All right, Joe. Thank you very much.
All right, everybody. Well, we're going to cut it a little short. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Frank, and thank you, everybody who's been part of the show today. Thank you, Dolores and Mike and Sarah and Pete and Helen and Chris and non-compliant Mary. Please get us that video, Mary. I love you, but I need that video so I can reveal my plan. Thank you, Lisa, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks.
I am Willie Nelson, and the Willie Nelson Tea Party and I endorse the human solution, supporting cannabis prisoners because no one should go to jail for a plant. Little things I should have said and done. You were always on my mind. You were always on my mind.
Here we go. All right.
Thank you for using.
I silently sneak around to the other side. Got to represent.
See y'all.